I want to really ask you about the relationship you have upward, talking about your bosses and maybe even the board of directors. What would be your coach the coach? I'm a CEO coach. I work in the C-suite. I feel like this is my superpower, is to help encourage people to reach their highest and best impact on the world. And there are women and men who are doing extraordinary things around the world. And you've done it influencing for your peers. You've influenced the people who work with you. Tell us a little bit about what you would coach a new arrival or person who's aspiring to be you, because there's going to be a lot more of them after this broadcast. What should we know about managing upward or managing with the people who have the power to make the ultimate call in your career and in the impact that you're serving up through your business?
What should I say to someone that knows it all? You have a very important role on guiding people that have an impact on a lot of other people. It's such an honorable role that you have to guide people that have such a big impact on a lot of lives and a lot of business. But look, and I'm sure you have experienced so many different aspects of the C-suite and the boardroom. So I will share my experience, and hopefully there is something in there that can serve. So I think the first thing is I'm now I am part, so I'm in the C-suite of the consumer health division. I'm also a non-executive direct member of a PLC company in the UK. And the first thing is the mindset of having a full business view. You can never show up as, again, we were discussing a little bit this at the beginning of the conversation. So when you sit in the exco, you cannot just sit there and only discuss, if you're CMO, only brand and advertising and brand equity. You're part of the leadership of the company that is responsible for the growth, for the profit, for the teams, for the culture. So having your value added there is critically important. You don't need to, and I think this is what not to do. You don't need to feel obliged to contribute in every single point, but this is the excess, right? The overuse. But you should know finance. I think there is some things in your market. People say, oh yeah, I love marketing because I don't have to know finance. Okay, so maybe you're missing something. So I think this is the first one, this holistic view of the business, this holistic view of talent. More and more, I think when we think about future facing, and I'm sure that the CEOs that you're coaching for the future, I see two things that are very important: digital understanding, the technology understanding, and ESG. But really understanding, not just, okay, let me just have the concept and then, we jump on the bandwagon. So these are things that I'm seeing both on my executive role as well as in the non-executive role, how technology is playing a much stronger role as enabler for growth, as enabler for connection, profit, and expansion, and how ESG is actually something that is quite non-negotiable and mandatory at the moment. If you see some of the big shareholders and the groups, yes, and you look at their annual letters, it started with diversity and inclusion, and now all those things are becoming table stake. It's not, yeah, it's not if you're going to do it, it's when you're going to do it. It's not, yeah, if it's this or profit. No. It's this plus profit. So in the future, I think this is if I compare the more traditional one, that it would be the profile, having done a lot of turnarounds or expansions or things like that. Growth normally was the big word, then profit becomes the big word, and then it's this holistic view of sustainable growth and profit, that sustainable considering the digital transformation, the ESG, and diversity and inclusion. And the last thing I wanted to mention here is there is such a benefit from having diversity, and by diversity I mean geographic experiences, industries, not just the gender and some of the most visible ones in the C-suite and in boards, because the conversation is so much better so much better. And for anyone listening, if you aspire to be in the C-suite or as a non-executive director in a board, prepare yourself, talk to people, let people know. One of the things that I observe a lot in women, Mark, is that some of them are ashamed to say, I want to be a CEO. They feel like it's not permitted to say, I want to be a mom, a wife, and a CEO. If people don't know what you want, they cannot help you. And to the power of collaboration, to the power of clarity and being vulnerable as well, saying what you want is also an act of vulnerability, because you're putting yourself out there. If you don't say, you don't feel like you can be rejected. So I will leave you with that. I think there is more and more, we talk about ESG, we talk about digital, but there is this personal trace of vulnerability that I'm more and more appreciating how powerful this is in a leader. And I have a lot to learn and to grow on this. I can guarantee to you, I'm very committed on this journey.
Well, I feel that sense of commitment. And I think that as entrepreneurs, recognizing the fact that if we're all the same in the room, we're not contributing value. And that the more different we are in the room, the more points of view and, in a sense, the greater competitive advantage we have, because we're able to embrace principles and ideas that maybe the next competitor on the block doesn't have. This is a strategic asset. And it also creates this sense of vulnerability in the room to say, my goodness, I hadn't thought about it and seen it that way. And that's something that you're inspiring in the people that you work with every day. And I can see now why it is that when you think about the board and the executive committee, the fact that you're willing to embrace everyone else's function, that's the first, you started out the conversation with, we have to start with where people are coming from. And so you sit at that table and you're saying, I'm not better than marketing. I'm not disassociated with the general counsel or the CFO. We're a team, and I'm going to bring my best, and I'm going to learn from all of you. And you call it vulnerability. I see it as real confidence, because being transparent in that way, I think, is what is the new definition of ESG and of authentic leadership.